Alright, what is going on guys? Hope you're all doing well. So, in England, the rivers have now closed for coarse fishing from the 15th of March to the 15th of June. So, yeah, no coarse fishing on the rivers. But, just after the coarse season closes, the trout season opens on the rivers. And me, like a lot of other people, are going to be targeting river trout. So, yeah, exciting time. Trout are probably one of the best fighting fish in the rivers, in the freshwater. So, yeah, I'm excited to get on them. Trout season for me, on the waters that I fish, opens on the 25th of March. Different around the country. There's very weird bylaws in England in regards to trout fishing. I know some places open a little bit earlier. Some places don't open until the 1st of April. And some places don't allow lure fishing for trout full stop. So I'm quite lucky. Where I live, you're allowed to fish for trout with lures. And this video I'm going to be showing you what sort of setup you want to be using, what sort of lures you can use for trout, and hopefully if any of you guys have never done any river fishing for trout, gives you a little bit of an insight of what you need to do to tackle the trout. And yeah, get out, catch some trout, because it's a very underrated way of fishing. You know, I know a lot of purists are like fly only for trout and stuff like that, but if you fish for fun rather than to think you're better than everyone else, lure fish for trout, so much fun. So yeah, today I'm going to go over my setup. I'm going to leave a link in the description to the BYLAWS website so you can check your local area, see when trout fishing opens and if you're actually allowed to do it, because there is a lot of people that are unaware of what you're allowed to do and stuff like that. People get in trouble, people get confused when they see me trout fishing on videos and they're like, the rivers are closed. Not for trout. So yeah, we're going to get into the setup now and yeah, show you some lures. So what I like to use and what most people use is a very, very light rod. So this is my 1-7 MOUSTIQUE rod. Very, very light, soft tip on this. Throw small lures, bends super well on the fish. And the reason that you want to use light tackle for trout especially is they go absolutely crazy on a hook set. If you've got a stiff rod with braid, there's no way it's going to absorb the crazy trout maneuvers. And it's just going to pop the hook basically. So a soft rod is essential. This is a little bit of a faster action rod than a lot of people use, which means it bends more towards the tip rather than through action. So if you wanted a more through action rod, this is the 0.5 to 6 gram rod. Slightly lighter, but it bends all the way through the blank. So much better for absorbing blows. The only reason I'm not using this and I'm using the 1-7 is because I'm going to be using jerkbaits, and twitching jerkbaits is a lot easier on the 1-7. But if I was just using spinners, soft baits, anything that doesn't involve me imparting action into the bait, the through action rod is a better option. You can see that bends all the way through, absorbs the blows of the trouts. So good. So you lose a ton less fish. But yeah, I might fish with both of these this season, switch between the two. This one is obviously soft enough. I've used it before for trout, but it's not quite as soft as this one, especially if you hook like a big trout and it goes absolutely mental. This will absorb the blows. Super nice, because I'm going to be fishing with braid. And on my trout setup I've got some very light braid here, super thin braid. You don't need that strong. I think it's like 10-pound braid what I've got on this. Last year I did experiment with mono, just because for the same reason as in, you know, absorbing the blows. But I found I lost more fish and it's not as sensitive for feeling the bites. So you can use mono if you want, but for me personally, I'm not a big fan. I like braid. I'm used to the feeling of braid from perch fishing and pike fishing, so yeah, I like to use it for all my lure fishing. So soft rod, light braid, fluorocarbon leader on there. Again, it doesn't need to be strong. I think I have like a 7-pound leader. It's a lot stronger than what some people use. I fish very snaggy areas, lots of overhanging trees, and my casting accuracy with a spin rod is not the best. So I like to use slightly heavier tackle so I can get some lures back. I have down at the end of that a small clip. I would normally have a small swivel on, but just as I was setting this up, I couldn't find them. I've just changed my tackle room around, so all my stuff is just piled in the corner basically. So yeah, finding the little clip and the snaps and the swivels is not easy right now. So after I film this video, I'm going to do some hunting, find those for trout season. If I wasn't using spinners, I wouldn't bother with a swivel. The only reason I'm using a swivel with spinners is to stop the line twisting, stop you getting wind knots and stuff like that. So yeah, and obviously the reel, small reel, 1000 size. You want one that's nicely balanced on the rod so it's comfortable to fish basically. You don't want a light rod like this with a super heavy 3000 size reel. So I've got my 1000 size. Obviously, if you're watching in my perch videos, this reel has been used a ton. I've caught a lot of fish on this. I've now got a new reel for my perch rod, so it's now my trout reel. And yeah, this should be a nice setup. So this is the setup I'm starting with this year. And again, you can go with lighter rods. You can go with a 0.5 to 3 gram or a 0 to 2 gram or whatever you can get. There's some crazy light rods, crazy light braid. And you'll get a good fight. Even trout that are like this sort of size, you get such a good fight on the light tackle. It's so much fun in the flow. And yeah, so that's the rod setup. Very basic, you know, it's just like a light perch tackle setup really. As for lures for trout, now when I'm personally trout fishing, I'm fishing small shallow rivers and I'm casting upstream with the water coming towards me. So when I'm bringing the lure back, it's coming back naturally with the flow. So I'm going to be wanting to fish just slightly faster than the flow of the river basically. So kind of limits the types of lures that I'll be using. You know, obviously different people have different styles of rivers. You know, people fish deeper slow pools and, you know, still water trout fishing and stuff like that. But like I say, I'm fishing the fast, shallow, really tight little rivers, which I'm sure a lot of other people are fishing as well. So for that, this is the lure choice that I typically use. Obviously, you can experiment with your waters. I'm just showing you what works for me. And obviously, like I already on the rod, I always start off with a spinner. My first 1 or 2 trout sessions out, I cover water. I'll leave a spinner on for most of the session and I'll just wade the river. I always wear waders when I'm trout fishing because the spots are very intimate, and I'll just wade and I'll wade and I'll wade and I'll wade like 3-4 miles, find where the trout are, and then in future sessions I can narrow those spots down, fish over those same areas with the soft plastics and stuff like that, because trout tend to stay in the same sort of areas, stay in the pools, stay in the faster water. Obviously they change a little bit with the water temperature and stuff, but generally I've found anyway through the season I find them in the similar sort of spot. So once I've established that, I'll go back after with different baits. But spinner, I'll always start with. Super good bait. Catch smaller trout on it generally. Then when I want to get the bigger stuff, I'll bring out some different lures. So obviously a firm favourite for a lot of people trout fishing, the little SALMO Hornets. Super nice, 4 centimetre little crankbait these. I'm not a big fan of crankbaits myself for trout, but they work. Again, I think they catch smaller ones as well. Good search bait, just like the spinners. And again, if I'm fishing super shallow, diving crank can get snagged up a little bit. But yeah, cranks, always a good shout for some trout fishing. Obviously, if you want to fish singles as well, change them out to single hooks. You do miss more fish with singles. But if, you know, fish welfare and stuff, if you think trebles are bad for fish, you know, change them out. Similar bait, but I think slightly superior. And this is probably my bigger trout catching bait as well, and that's going to be jerk baits. I usually use slightly bigger ones than even this. I think this is a 5 centimetre one, or a 6 centimetre even. I usually use like 8-9 centimetre jerk baits, but these work so good for trout. Twitch, in the flow. Pause it and it'll drift in the flow. Big twitch, and yeah, they nail it. They love jerk baits. All fish love jerk baits. But yeah, I've caught some very big trout on these. So yeah, once I've established where the trout are and I'm fishing slower and tag in certain areas, the jerk bait goes on and we're going to try and catch some bigger fish. Also worth a mention, if you've got some slightly deeper water as well that's not super fast, spin tail lures like this, absolute killer for trout. I use these on still waters for trout quite a lot. Well, I've only fished still waters for trout like twice, but the times I have, I've used these and caught really good trout. Absolutely love these. Super good search bait as well, just like the spinners and the crankbaits. You can just cover a ton of water with these. It fires the trout up. Trout are absolutely crazy, and then just smash them. So spin tail lures, honourable mention if you've got some slightly deeper water to fish. On to the soft baits. One of my favourite soft baits for the trout is the small creature baits. These are the 4 centimetre craws. Very good trout bait. Like, trout eat anything. The rivers I fish, I've actually got creature bait, crayfish in as well. but these for me are more like just imitating little crustaceans and stuff. Anything like shrimp or anything, a trout will think this is that, basically, little larvae and stuff. So super good bait, small creature baits, always worth having in the box. And I'll show you, this is how big my trout box is as well, like very, very small. And I'll take a few packs of lures, and yeah, it's all you need. You know, you don't need 50 different baits with trout, you need 7 or 8 different styles. Find out what mood they're in and just stick with it. So yeah, small creature baits, small shads. Again, these are for targeting, you get the slightly better fish on the shads as opposed to spinners and crankbaits and stuff. They do pick out slightly bigger fish. So the small shad like this, and one that I've actually got my PB trout on these, that's the Finesse Fillet 7cm. I wasn't expecting these to be such a good trout bait. I just thought I'd put them on as a whim, and the trout absolutely nailed them. And yeah, I caught, like I say, my PB trout on these last season. I can't remember how much it weighed. It was a big fish. So yeah, they are good. And again, if you've got some slower pulls, don't be afraid to try a stick bait or a tube style bait or a slow bottom bait that you typically fish for perch or something. Don't be afraid to throw those. They work for trout. Trout, like I say, will eat anything. So if you're finding that they're not reacting to the fast baits and you've got a slower area where you know there's trout, throw a Ned style bait on, and yeah, you should hopefully get a reaction to that. And whizzed through these baits pretty quick. The last one I'm going to talk about is small grub tails, worm style baits, little curly tail grubby things. Fish these on a jig head. You can swim these with the curly tail, or you can twitch. These are TP ones, so you can twitch these on the bottom super slow if you need to, or you can swim the back, just bounce them along the bottom. However, you can fish them loads of different ways. And again, just like the creature baits, trout slam them. They think they're little larvae, little worms floating down. Anything that they consider food, they will, yeah, nail them. So yeah, like I say, small little box. I'll take a few packs of lures, and I have these in my wading pocket there. So yeah, I don't need to take my bag off or anything, just whip a lure out, change it. If I've seen a spot where I know there's some trout, I can try 4 or 5 different lures without any effort. So yeah, you don't need to travel heavy for trout. Literally, yeah, that's all you need. That'll go in your wading pocket. Have your pliers in there for unhooking, your little net tied to you on your waders, and yeah, you're good to go. I obviously carry a bag because I have my camera stuff in there, but you don't really need that if you've got these, got a spool fluorocarbon in there, and you're good to go. It's super light fishing, so much fun. And yeah, if you guys have not tried it, highly recommend some trout fishing this season. This video is going out on 25th or 26th of March, so hopefully next week we'll have some trout videos filmed, depending on the weather, if the rivers are blown out or not. But yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. I'll leave a list in the description of the types of lures I mentioned. Again, like the BYLAWS link to the different regions' trout laws. It's very confusing, I admit, how they've done it with the trout, but hopefully, yeah, you guys can figure it out and don't get caught fishing where you're not supposed to fish. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Look out for some more trout fishing videos now the rivers are closed for the coarse fish. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.